Hi, this is Nancy Reynolds and welcome to World Card Making Day. And this is the card we're going to make. It is using the Rustic Harvest Designer Series paper, the Hello Harvest stamp set, and thick basic white cardstock and regular basic white cardstock, plus little black and white cardstock and ribbon and some jewels. This is a pretty easy card to make, but I think it packs a punch. So what I have here is an envelope in basic white. We will be decorating that, so I'm just going to sit it up there out of the way. Here is our card base. This is the thick basic white, and it makes a great card base. Stands better. It's just got a good heavy weight to it. It is 5.5 by 8.5 inches, so 5.5 by 8.5 inches, scored at 4.25. That's 14.9 centimeters by 21 centimeters, and scored at 10.5 centimeters. And one of the things that you want to do is you want to make sure you've got your fold good and burnished. Your card will lay nicer that way. So there's our card base. We're going to top this with a piece of basic white. Oh, we have a piece of basic white, the same size as the Designer Series paper. It is 4 by 5.25 inches or 10 by 14.4 centimeters. This we're going to stamp on, put a little Designer Series paper on, and put on the inside of our card. So we'll set that aside for right now. Our Designer Series paper is going to go just like this. I have another piece of Designer Series paper that's 2.5 inches by 5.25 inches, or 6.1 centimeters by 14.4 centimeters. And this is, the width really depends on what you want. It could be thinner, it could be a little bit bigger. It's how you like it to look on your card. And it's going to go down right there. So while we're thinking about it, oh, and I got bits and pieces. I've got strips of cardstock. This will go on the envelope. One of these will go on the envelope. One will go on the inside piece. And then for our sentiment and its layer, I've got basic white, regular cardstock weight, and black. So we'll be playing with those. Let's start by assembling the front of our card. I am going to use seal. Oh, have to take the end off. Stampin' Seal for this. It really doesn't take a huge amount of the seal to hold your card, your Designer Series paper down. The one thing you do want to do is make sure that you turn it up when you lift it up, because you want your adhesive to break right here in the middle. And this is just, I'm going to pull this a little closer to me because I'm going to look at the two sides in the top. If they are about the same distance, the bottom will take care of itself. So there we are. And we're going to just put this on flat. Again, I'm going to use my seal. Put a little bit down on the sides here. Isn't this pretty paper? I love this. It makes a lovely card front. You're going to see it in another card I make. But there we are. We have the front of our card pretty much done. Let's go on and do a little stamping. Mary Merlot, that up here, so you can still see most of it. Put this over here. I'm using Mary Merlot ink. That is the reddish color that's in here. And I'm going to stamp on my scrap of white first. I'll stamp hello. And I'm going to stamp kind of in the middle. This is a pretty small piece. And I'm going to punch this out with a punch. So it doesn't really matter if it's straight because I can make it straight with a punch. My next one, I'm going to put this on the inside, wishing you the loveliest day. And we'll just tap, 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 ink that up. It's a larger stamp, so it's kind of nice to take your ink to the stamp. making sure it's on a solid surface. And I'm hoping to get this straight. Sometimes I put my labels on a little crooked and it's harder to get them straight that way. Lovely. That is all the stamping we're going to do. So I'm going to close up the ink and grab one of my little strips. Let's see. And I'm just going to glue it across here. Let's see. I happen to wind up with two different size strips, so I think I'm going to use the thinner one on the inside. And for that, I'm going to take my multi-purpose glue. And I know that this is too long, so I'm going to guesstimate how far it should go. I'm going to leave a little bit of white at the bottom. Put this down. Turn it over. I guesstimated a little bit long, didn't I? Let's see. And generally you will want to let this dry before you snip it, but for the sake of time, I'm just going to snip it. There we are. This is ready to go with the inside of our card. So a little bit, let me just burnish that down, rub it down a little bit. A little bit of Stampin' Seal on the back. Whoop. I didn't break that one, it just kind of pulled. Again, we'll line it up. The inside's done. We've got a little bit more to do on the outside. So let's cut out our sentiment. This is the double oval punch, which is really handy because you've got both your layers all in one punch. So I'm going to align this on the, that looks pretty good, the small one. That's why I like little scraps, because you don't want to waste your cardstock. Here's the scalloped oval. And I will save that for another project. Set that aside. This is just going to get a little bit of seal on it. And again, it's going to come a little bit closer to me. I think that looks right. You might want to use Tombow multi-purpose glue for this part, only because it gives you a little bit more ability to realign. It's got wiggle room. I did decide that this needed a little bit of dimension, so I grabbed my dimensionals, which are little foam sticky pads. They're here on both sides. They're so handy. Take off the backing. These backings will get everywhere in your house if you don't put it in the garbage right away. I know that from experience. I'm going to put this on, oh, let's see, here I think. There we are. I'm going to tie a little bow. I think I'm going to use I am not the best bow tire, and I'm going to admit that. So I have a tool that it's just a block of wood with some holes punched in it, and a couple of long nails, and it's really easy to use. So, and it's not so hard to make either. This one's a little fancy, it's got a beveled edge, but just a plain block of wood will do. You could make your own. And I believe, yep, they're spaced about 1/4 inch. There's our bow. I'm going to snip the ends and use another adhesive. I'm going to use a glue dot. Glue dots are perfect for adhering your ribbon. So let's just pop that down, pick it up, and I put it, so I didn't want to sit it up too high, so I put it right at the bottom of my hello. And you can fuss with it a little and puff it out if you want to. The last thing we're going to do to the card is put some gems on it. Using my Take Your Pick tool, there's a putty end, and I'm going to grab some gems and just put 3 little gems on. Want to use odd numbers because it's pleasing to the eye. So there we are. And I think 3 is enough, but I could have done 5 if I wanted. You can do 5 if you want, or 7. What I'm doing now is I'm going to do our envelope. Now the one thing you do have to be careful of is it has to go through the post office. And you don't want it to get caught. You really don't want the post office mad at you, whatever country you live in. So I try to put plenty of my multi-purpose glue on, and I try to get it clear over to the edge because I don't want loose pieces. And this is just one of the scraps that was left over when I was cutting the paper. I think just measure the length of your envelope if you're cutting a piece, the flap. Ours is about 2.5 inches, a little bit smaller in the US, and 6 inches fits across for the US, but you will want to, it's easy for you to measure and come up with those dimensions. This is just kind of an extra little piece, because if you stop and think about it, it's pretty on the outside, it's pretty on the inside, it deserves to go into a pretty envelope. And then I just take my snips without the ribbon on. I put ribbon on my ribbon scissors, and that way they're always sharp. And then you can just trim around the edge fairly close to the envelope flap. I don't know why, it's always easier for me to do the other rounded edge than this side. Not sure why. And you've got another little strip. You can cut these ends off, and you've got another strip for the bottom of the card. But for this card, I have a strip already cut. And so we're going to just put a little something. Sometimes I stamp on my envelopes, and sometimes I use designer series paper. Any way you look at it, it enhances the look of your card. And won't it be nice for your friend to receive happy mail that looks this pretty? So, here we have our card and envelope with our designer series paper. Simple to make. You could make 3 or 4 of them. I always suggest making 2 at a time because you're cutting the paper. You've got one sheet of paper. You score it in half and cut that in the other way. Let's see. This is on cardstock. This is what the stamp set looks like. So you score it in half, 4 1/4 or 10.5 centimeters, and then you cut it at 5.5 inches or at 14.4 centimeters. No, it's not 14.4. It is 21 centimeters. No, 14.9. 14.9 centimeters. And so you've got 2 card bases. Why not make 2 cards? So until I see you again, I want to first thank you again for joining us and supporting us at our World Card Making Day of 2022. And happy crafting. Bye.